gentlemen, welcome to Talking Raw. I am your host, Kris. It is very nice to talk to you guys tonight. We had a Raw tonight, and I thought it was a very middle-of-the-road Raw. If I had to say if it was a thumbs up or a thumbs down, I'd say thumbs middle, but like thumb tilting more towards the downside than the upside. First, I want to get some things out of the way. We have David Otunga returning very, very soon. There was a new story that just came up today that David Otunga is returning very soon. He's actually returning at Extreme Rules to be on the kickoff panel. If this article that I read was to be correct, he's going to be on the kickoff panel for Extreme Rules. Hopefully, he stays on the kickoff panel because look, that guy just sucks at commentary. He's not good at commentary. So hopefully he stays on the kickoff panels because I don't want to see him on commentary. But like I said, Raw tonight, very in the middle, very middle of the road Raw. There was nothing actually, I shouldn't say that. There was some very high ups in this episode, and then the downs were really, really down. I feel as though most of the segments in this built towards the matches that we're going to see at Extreme Rules. Even though some of the segments did it poorly and some of the segments did it correctly, I feel as though Extreme Rules, pretty much all the matches, are built up to a good extent. And I feel as though like pretty much everybody who was on the show tonight has a match at Extreme Rules. I said pretty much everybody. Not everybody. We all know that Titus O'Neil is not going to have a match at Extreme Rules unless it's announced later on in the week that he's going to be facing Kalisto again or something of that sort. But we're going to start off with where the show started off at. And the show starts off with Miz TV. Miz says the It couple is feeling good because he gets his hands on Dean Ambrose. Says he is a lying backstabbing thief who stole his IC title. Says that Ambrose intentionally DQ'd himself in the Intercontinental Championship match that they had. Says the rules were meant for people like Ambrose. He then goes on to show a clip from Ambrose's match last week where The Miz not really beat down, but he hit Elias Sampson to get the DQ win. Says if a DQ happens on Sunday that he will be IC champion once again for the 7th time. I can't believe that he's already a 7-time IC champion. He's been in the WWE for a little bit, but I'm not going to get off topic here. Sheamus and Cesaro are the guests on Miz TV. Miz says no other superstars have worked harder than them, besides himself. Says they deserve to be tag team champions. Sheamus says that the crowd has turned their back on them at WrestleMania. Says the fans aren't loyal and they like the new toys. Says they are going to break those new toys. I actually like that. I like that. Miz says that the crowd doesn't understand the greatness of the men in the ring. Says he made the IC Championship something. Dean Ambrose then comes out and said that somebody had to come out there and shut their mouths. Miz says that Ambrose is outnumbered. Ambrose says that he isn't stupid and then brings out the Hardys. And they then ambush The Miz, Sheamus, and Cesaro, and a 6-man tag is made. I thought this segment was just a tad bit above average. It didn't blow my socks off like some openings have. Especially the Raw after WrestleMania. That opening was probably the best Raw opening ever. But like I said, this segment was a tad bit above average. I like that the other belts are getting attention though. I really do. It's not just the main belt, the Universal Championship. The IC title is actually getting some attention, and same thing with the Tag Team Championships. That's getting attention. If that's going to be put in the A segment of the show, obviously they're investing in these titles because right now the Universal Championship is not on Raw. And they need these title matches to really shine because these are the only title matches on the show. Even though that Fatal 5-Way that we have is basically a title match I wouldn't say title match. It's going to be a great main event. It's going to be a great match. And like I said, what they're doing, they're putting these titles in the forefront, and I like that. I got to say this. The Miz is fantastic on the mic, and this is no news to anybody. This is no news to anybody. He is probably the best mic worker in the WWE. And he knows how to work a crowd like no other. Honestly, I know people didn't like Miz's babyface run, and neither did I, but also you have to realize that Miz's babyface run happened at a point where he was still honing his craft. Now, if he became a babyface now, I think he'd be probably the most over babyface in the company because he knows how to work the crowd better than nobody else. No, nobody in the WWE can work a crowd like The Miz. And The Miz really gets the ebb and flows of the crowd. And like I said, if he became a babyface again, he'd be a fantastic babyface because he knows how to work the crowd. But I have to say, it was lazy booking another six-man tag match. I hate these six-man tag matches so much. That is like my pet peeve of WWE right now. It is the same formulaic segment A. Segment A is the same formulaic thing every single time. They have everybody coming out. They have a bunch of people in the ring ambushing each other, and then a six-man tag match is made. Like, does anybody want to see another six-man tag when we see a six-man tag every single week for at least one feud going on, or 1, 2, or 3 feuds going on? I mean, come on, this is so lazy. They really need to move away from their formulaic segment A's, because right now, segment A is probably my least anticipated segment of the show, and that should always be the best segment of the show. I wouldn't say it's my least anticipated, but like I look forward to me, I look forward to when the main event guys are out there, when Joe, Bray Wyatt, when those guys are out there. And if you're going to start the show off with these guys, they got to put on at least, they got to put on a good segment, which they did. I mean, it was a tad bit above average, like I said. But if you're going to put them in a match after, you have to do something different. You know, maybe you do Dean Ambrose versus Sheamus. You know what I mean? Maybe you do Dean Ambrose versus Sheamus, and the Hardy Boys are in the corner of Dean Ambrose, and then The Miz and Cesaro are in the corner of Sheamus. That's what I think you do. I mean, because these six-man tag matches are doing nothing for anybody. They're not getting anybody over because there's so many people to spotlight. Nobody is getting over in these six-man tag matches, and they really need to stop booking these things. But with that being said, even though these six-man tag matches really annoy me, like they really do, they're just so annoying. Every single week we get one. The match was actually pretty good. It was choreographed very well. I like that. And Dean Ambrose looked very, very good in this match, I have to say. I've been critical of Dean Ambrose, not on this podcast because, you know, I haven't been on podcasting for that long. But before, I've been very critical of Dean Ambrose. When he won the WWE Championship, I was very critical of the decision to put the WWE Championship on him because I didn't think he was ready. And he showed why I was correct, because his title reign was awful. I mean, look, we can all agree. When AJ Styles won that title, we were all going crazy because not only did AJ Styles win the title, but Dean Ambrose lost it. And Dean Ambrose was not good as a WWE champion. But right now, he's looking very good with the IC title. Lately, he's been looking very good. When he first got the IC championship, I couldn't care for it at all. The Hardy Boys and Dean Ambrose win via a Swanton bomb by Jeff Hardy. And look, I think one of these people, one of the heel teams in this segment is going to win their respective titles. I'm not sure which it's going to be because right now you look at the landscape of Raw. You have a heel Universal Champion. You have a babyface IC champion. You have a babyface tag team champion. And you have a heel women's champion. And you have a heel cruiserweight champion as well. I see, if both of these teams win, I see a title change in the women's division and the cruiserweight division. I don't know. I think at least 2 titles are going to change on Sunday, maybe even 3. I see a lot of titles being given around on Sunday, and I don't know. Maybe it is the Hardys that get rid of those titles, because I don't think Dean Ambrose right now should get rid of the title, because there are no baby faces on Raw for The Miz to face besides Dean Ambrose. And then with Dean Ambrose, he has a wide variety of heels that he can face. He can face an Elias Sampson, even though I think that'd be a little too early for Elias Sampson to be put in that position. He could go with the rematch with The Miz and then go on to a Samoa Joe. And then maybe that's where you put the IC Championship on a heel. But right now, I don't think Miz is the right choice to have that title around his waist. Even though he'd be fantastic with the title. I kind of hope he wins, but I mean, what's going to happen after he wins? And that's what I always ask myself whenever there is a title match. What happens if this person wins? What happens if that person wins? If one person has more opponents lined up in the future, I usually go with that person because I want to see fresh feuds and I want to see, faces versus heels. I don't want to see this heel versus heel nonsense or this face versus face nonsense unless it's Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar. So I'm going to move on from that segment because I spent way too much time talking about that segment. I really just realized that. Corey Graves ran out of the announcer's booth. He then Corey and Kurt are backstage, and it looks like he has text of somebody trying to. I wrote down trying to blackmail Kurt, but at the time I didn't know what was really going on because I was writing down notes for the past segment. But then I realized that they were talking about the beatdown of Enzo. We learned then later in the show that that's what they were talking about. Elias Sampson is in the ring. He's singing a song, and then in the ring is his opponent Zach Evans, just watching him the whole entire time singing. I have to say, Elias Sampson. I love Elias Sampson, but he sucks. He sucks at singing at least. But I didn't mean he sucks in the ring. He sucks at singing. That man does not have a good voice. He is not a good musician. But with that being said, he is fantastic in the ring. I am a big Elias Sampson fan. I'm a big Elias Sampson fan. The announcers were really putting Sampson over, and it looks like he's going to be pushed to be a champion one day. And I'm going to talk about that a little later. Sampson looks really impressive in the ring. He looks very, very aggressive as well. And then Sampson wins via swinging neck breaker. Zach Evans didn't get a single lick of offense in. And Elias Sampson was not having that. He's like, nah, you're not getting a single lick of offense in. And look, the Elias Sampson push has started. He will be a future champion. Which championship he'll win is beyond me at the moment. Maybe it's an IC championship. Maybe he moves to SmackDown or the U.S. Title moves back to Raw. Maybe he wins that. I don't know. I think if Dean Ambrose does win on Sunday, I think the right opponent for him at the moment would probably be Elias Sampson because Elias Sampson isn't in that really solid main event scene they have right now. And I don't know. I think Sampson could definitely be the next IC champion because look, Sampson to me has been way better on the main roster than he's been in NXT because in NXT he was consistently taking pins, and now on the main roster I feel as though they're actually booking him in a way that he should be booked. So I like what they're doing with Elias Sampson. I hope they continue what they're doing with Elias Sampson because it looks like they're giving him kind of that Braun Strowman treatment where they give him jobbers to squash, and he squashes them in a very impressive fashion. And then, of course, he gets jolted into the title picture. And that's what I think is going to happen. Like I said, IC championship, IC title picture, not the Universal championship picture, because we all know he's good, but he's not that good. Not yet, at least. Samoa Joe is seen watching Finn Balor's 24 special, which I actually haven't watched yet. I got to go and watch it soon. I've been so busy lately. I should have watched it on Sunday when I had literally nothing to do, and it felt like the day was about 48 hours long. But back on topic we go. He is interviewed, and he says that he will make this unpredictable match predictable. Says he knows Balor very well. He says he knows Bray Wyatt as well. He knows his type. Bray Wyatt then has that, what I don't even know what they call it. He interferes, I guess he interferes with the interview, and he appears on the TV that Joe is watching. Says that he is the devil that Joe does not know. Says that he can beat the beast and that he is the only one capable of doing so. Says he will not run away from this fight. Says that they should give in to their fears and run. We then have a fantastic triple threat match between Samoa Joe, Bray Wyatt, and Finn Balor. I gotta say, I hate the fact that they didn't give Samoa Joe an entrance. They didn't give Samoa Joe an entrance, and I don't like that because Samoa Joe should be made to be a big deal, and right now they're not doing that. And even with the finish of this match I'm going to get into, they still didn't make him look like a big deal. These triple threat matches, by the way, that they do with these main event guys are fantastic. And I hope we get more of them. Sadly, we won't, because when Extreme Rules is over, all 5 of these men are going to stop interacting with each other the way that they are. I mean, obviously they're going to split off into different feuds. This match is going to make... this match is really going to give us an imprint for what Great Balls of Fire is going to be. And what I think is going to happen is, I'm going to give you a spoiler of my prediction. I think that Seth Rollins is going to win that match on Sunday. I really do. And look, I'd like to see a Joe Wyatt promo or program. But with me saying that, that really shows the problem with today's WWE. And that is that the baby faces aren't built up to the point where we're actually rooting for them. And it's sad to see. It really is sad to see. The baby faces aren't built up to the point where I'm like, oh, that's a dream match. That is a dream match. That face and that heel would have the perfect match. I mean, we had that until AJ Styles turned babyface. And even then, we wanted to see the Shinsuke Nakamura AJ Styles match due to the fact that it'd be a great match, not because of the program built around it. And like I said, Joe and Wyatt would be a great program. Same thing with Joe and Lesnar. Same thing with Bray Wyatt and Brock Lesnar. Same thing with Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar. You get the trend, though? Those are all heel versus heel matches. And that's really exposing the problem with today's WWE. And I already said it. The baby faces aren't put into the position where we're saying that's a dream match. And it's funny because you look at it. The dream match that we all want to see is Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles. I already addressed that earlier. We also want to see Seth Rollins versus AJ Styles. Both of them are baby faces. Even though both of them were once heel, now they're both baby faces, and we want to see that match. Even though before we like to see it heel and heel, we just want to see a Seth Rollins AJ Styles match. And it's sad because I want to see an AJ Styles versus Bray Wyatt match. That's something that I'd get a hype for. Or that's something that I wish people would get hyped for. Not a heel versus heel promo and a babyface versus babyface promo. It's really exposing the problem with today's WWE. But like I said, fantastic match. It's going to suck after Extreme Rules when we don't get to see all this top-level talent in the ring at once. And that's really it for the triple threat. Joe wins. Finn Balor hits the coup de grace, but Joe throws Balor out of the ring, and he gets the win. And I'd rather have it been Joe, putting Bray Wyatt in the coquina clutch and having Joe pass out. I think that would have been the better way to go, because in this, Bray Wyatt still takes a pin. And we've all been critical of WWE's mishandling of Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt is continuously taking pins. And after tonight's promo, I mean, that promo he had before the match with Samoa Joe was fantastic. It was one of my favorite Bray Wyatt promos, and there's so many Bray Wyatt promos that are great that with me saying that, it's really an accomplishment to the promo that he cut on Samoa Joe before the match. That's how good that promo was. And like I said, Bray Wyatt has a whole library of great promos. So for me to come out and say that's one of his best promos is impressive. It really is. It's not like me coming out and saying, oh, that's one of Roman Reigns' best promos. Because Roman Reigns doesn't have a library of good promos like Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt is a fantastic library of promos. And tonight was one of his best. But sadly, he took the pin after he sounded like the devil. He literally sounded like the devil. And then he went out there and took a pin. I don't understand. I mean, obviously, you're not going to pin Samoa Joe because Samoa Joe should not be getting pinned. Because right now his aura is that he's the destroyer, quote unquote, because WWE hasn't been booking him that way. And Bray Wyatt is the eater of worlds. Right now he's the eater of pins, even though he hasn't been pinned that much lately, but he's still the eater of pins. It's all going to come back full circle. Roman Reigns is always going to beat somebody that's built up to be a monster, and Bray Wyatt's always going to look like a monster, but then eat a pin. Maybe not from Roman Reigns, but from somebody else. And that continued tonight with this. Rollins is interviewed backstage and is asked about the match that he's going to have later in the night. Well, he was also asked about the match that he just saw, but he's also asked about the match later on in the night. Says he knows Joe as well as anybody on the roster. Says the only person he knows better than Samoa Joe is Roman Reigns. says that Seth Rollins always beats Roman Reigns. Says when he cracks his knee into Roman's chin, it won't be personal because he has to do whatever it takes to win this match on Sunday. I have to say, Rollins is finally hitting his stride as a babyface and is showing why everybody was saying that he has massive babyface potential that we all saw when he was on NXT. I mean, if you watched the early days of NXT, and he was a babyface. He actually faced Jinder Mahal for the NXT Championship. That was the first NXT Championship match, and he was a babyface, and he was actually a fantastic babyface back then. So he's really living up to the potential of being that next big babyface for WWE. We all thought it was going to be Finn Balor, but right now it's looking like it's Seth Rollins. When Rollins first became a babyface, though, I have to say this. He felt like he was more of like a reluctant babyface. He felt like he was more of a scripted babyface. And I understand that professional wrestling is scripted, but when I watch Game of Thrones, when I watch an Arrow or a Flash or one of these shows that I love, a True Detective, I want to feel as though I'm watching a TV show, not a scripted TV show. Same thing applies to professional wrestling. I don't want to feel like something scripted. And when Seth Rollins turned babyface, it wasn't it wasn't an in-your-face babyface turn. It wasn't a complete babyface turn that I thought they should have done with Seth Rollins, because Seth Rollins is that big of a star to where they should have made it an in-your-face babyface turn, a complete babyface turn. But he kind of felt like he was more like, I'm a babyface, but, I'm really a heel. I'm Seth Rollins. How are you doing today? And that's just not how it should have been. And I feel as though they really wanted to give him this type of big babyface push in WrestleMania season with Triple H. But, of course, the whole thing happened with his knee, unfortunately. And he wasn't able to seize that potential that we all saw in him as a babyface. But right now, he's doing very, very good work as a babyface. And I think going on in the future, he is the one, not Finn Balor, even though I like Finn Balor a lot. I think he's the one that's going to be that next babyface for WWE, or at least on the Raw roster. Obviously, the next big babyface is Shinsuke Nakamura, but I talk way too much. I don't know why. I should move on to the next segment right now, which is what I'll do. Noam Dar with Alicia Fox versus Rich Swann with Sasha Banks. A match was confirmed earlier in the day on WWE's YouTube that Noam Dar and Alicia Fox will be facing Rich Swann and Sasha Banks. So I guess look forward to that, even though I'm not really looking forward to that. I like that there's more than one cruiserweight match on the show, even though this isn't really a cruiserweight match. It's a mixed tag team match, but they're integrating the cruiserweights into this. And I feel as though that's a step in the right direction for the cruiserweights. It was a good match for as long as it lasted. And see, here's the thing with these cruiserweight matches. Like, I always watch them, even those little 3-minute matches they have, and I always say, that's a good match for a 3-minute match. Now, if you give them 12 minutes, they'd probably put on something a lot better. But obviously on Raw, they don't have the time to give them a big, long 12-minute match. So, I guess you got to watch 205 Live, 10 o'clock on Tuesday. Like, anybody has time to watch 2 nights straight of 3 hours of wrestling. And if you have time to do that, God bless you. Because I don't. I don't have that time. And WWE shouldn't rely on people having that time. They should maybe put 205 Live on Thursday. And I'm, again, going off like I always do. The Cruiserweight experiment is still a failure. Like I said, right here, 205 Live should not be on Tuesday. They should tape it with NXT and make NXT Live from 8 to 9. And then 205 Live from 9 to 10 on Wednesdays. That's perfect for me, because you can keep the 205 Live moniker, and then you could also make NXT Live, which is something that I know they're desperately trying to do. And that's something that I feel as though would work for 205 Live, because you'd get the paying customer who goes to NXT, who would also probably love the Cruiserweight show, the 205 Live show, and then you have them staying for 2 shows and them being raunchous, as always. I gotta say though, Rich Swann and Sasha Banks actually looked good together. They have a good chemistry. Wish I could say the same for Sasha and Alicia Fox, due to the fact that they're going to be the ones that are going to be competing against each other on Sunday. And look, I'm not really looking forward to this match that they have coming up. It's whatever. I don't like mixed tag team matches. I haven't liked a mixed tag team match in like It's been a while. I mean, maybe the one that Cena had with Trish Stratus a couple years ago, I think in like 2010, that was maybe the last one where I said, yeah, I enjoyed it. The one at WrestleMania was awful. It literally bored me. I was there and I was just bored to tears watching that match. But we have a mixed tag team match on Sunday that nobody's looking forward to. The Revival are interviewed and are asked about Enzo. They say they don't know what happened. They showed a video of the Revival walking in the background on a video during a interview with Sasha Banks. Says that they are always backstage at Raw, even if they're injured, and that they didn't waste their time with Enzo and nobody else should either. I can't wait for the Revival to return, though. And this is another thing I liked about Raw, is that they had a storyline, even though it was like kind of a B-level storyline, which I think will eventually turn into an A-level storyline because the Revival are just that good. And Enzo and Cass, they're doable in the ring. They're very capable in the ring of putting on a good match. And with the Revival, they're obviously going to put on some good matches. One thing I like is that there was a storyline and they followed it throughout the whole entire show. That's something I wish that they'd keep on doing. And look, I don't think it was the Revival that beat up Enzo, even though I said last week on the Raw review that I believe it is the Revival. I think this is like an ancillary way to get the Revival back on the Raw, to kind of accuse them of doing it, even though I actually think, which I didn't think people were right about this. I think they were out of their minds when they said this. I think it is Big Cass. I really do think it is Big Cass, and I wouldn't have said that last week. But they're really making this interesting. Maybe it was the Revival, maybe it was Big Cass, maybe it was another team, maybe it was the Authors of Pain. Even though I think that's making 2% chance of happening. Maybe it was the Authors of Pain. Maybe it was the Revival. Maybe it was Cass. I don't know. This is something that they need to continue with. They're giving me intrigue into this storyline, and they need to book more storylines like this, because when you give me a storyline where I'm like, oh, is it this guy? Is it that guy? Is it this team? Is it that team? I get intrigued, and it makes me want to tune into next week. So what they're doing right now with that storyline, I'm enjoying. We then get Big Cass coming out and questioning Corey Graves after Corey said that it was Cass that maybe attacked Enzo. Corey said that he only said that it could have been him, and that Kurt was investigating what happened with Enzo, and that the text he received earlier in the night when he walked out of the announcer's booth was a mistake. This is just more proof that I think it could be Big Cass. If I had to put my money on something, I'd say it's Big Cass. Here's how I see it going down. I think Cass is going to blame the Revival for it, and then when that match is over, he's going to turn his back on Enzo, and then he's going to say that he was really the one that did it, and then we're going to get a heel Big Cass, and then we're going to probably get Enzo Amore in the Cruiserweight division. I don't know. That's what I see happening. We then get Kalisto versus Titus O'Neil, and this was, I think it was like a 30-second match. Titus wins by grabbing a handful of tights on a roll-up of Kalisto, and Apollo sees this and is like, yeah, you won, but you grabbed his tights, so it doesn't really count. But with that being said, though, Titus and Apollo need to be a tag team. I really think that they need to be a tag team. Right now, the tag team division is lacking now that the Revival's gone, and I'd like to see the Titus brand be a tag team. I think that that's a very good merchandising opportunity if they do pursue this tag team with Titus and Apollo. I think they need to be a tag team. We then go on to the worst segment of the show. My God. I was thinking about turning the television. I was thinking about turning off the television, changing the channel, doing whatever to not watch a segment, because it was that bad. Now, I thought this segment had potential, but we very quickly actually saw that no, this segment is bad. It's awful. Quote, Bailey, This Is Your Life by Alexa Bliss. Presented by Alexa Bliss. I don't know, whatever they were saying. Alexa comes out Alexa says that she faces Bayley on Sunday, says that Bayley will not use that kendo stick to her advantage. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, there was a table full of Bayley's collectible, for lack of a better description. Says that she had to dig into her past, shows that she has a table full of Bayley's past collectibles. Starts making fun of everything she has on the table. Well, not everything, but she then has people from Bayley's past in the ring. Alexa asks Bayley's 4th grade teacher, Miss Flapper, whatever, and asked her about her as a student. Says that Bayley couldn't be apart from her dad. She was always in the front row right next to her dad. And if she was apart from her dad for a long time, she'd begin to cry. Oh my. Alexa then interviews Bayley's ex-best friend. She says that Bayley would rather watch wrestling, Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, than hang out with her. She then interviews Bayley's ex-boyfriend. He then says that she was a very nice girl. He then says that she always brought her dad on dates. The crowd, rightfully so, chanted delete at this tool bag because he was awful. This guy was terrible. Says that he only dated Bayley so he could get to her ex-best friend. And get this, that idiot, that tool bag, and Bayley's ex-best friend, who nobody cared about, nobody knew about before this segment, probably nobody in that arena, literally nobody in that arena probably knew who that idiot was, or that other idiot, the girl, was. And then they start making out. The crowd chants out, boring, and rightfully so, because this was a terrible segment. It was awful. Bayley then comes out and ambushes Alexa Bliss. Bayley beats her down, then reaches for the kendo stick on the pole. Alexa Bliss then reaches under the table for a kendo stick and hits Bayley with it. Bayley then retreats. This segment sucked. This segment was like one of the worst segments. Actually, I'm going to say this. It was the worst segment of 2017 by far. Nothing even comes close to that. This could be the worst segment since the club's old day segment. Yeah, it was that bad. It was that bad. And by the way, I know there's these people on even on the YouTube wrestling world and the podcasting world that always criticize the crowds. Oh, the crowd shouldn't be chanting things like "this is boring" and these crowds suck. Okay, whenever people say that, I say people should be able to voice their opinion however they want. And they're not saying this is boring to the wrestlers in the ring. What they're saying is this is boring to the people who are booking this show, because constantly, every single week, people pay a lot of money to go to these crowds and they're dead in their seats. Now, lately, I thought Raw, the last 2 episodes, were actually pretty good. But prior to that, there hasn't been a good Raw since the Raw after WrestleMania. And for the people that criticize these people in the crowds, they pay for a ticket. They should be able to do whatever they want. Mostly whatever they want. So don't criticize them for saying this is boring or delete or yelling out CM Punk, even though I hate the CM Punk chant, I gotta say. Don't criticize them for doing that when you're the one watching on television for the amount you have to pay for your cable bill every single month. Or in some cases watching for free. You should not criticize them when they're paying, $25, $50, $100, $200, $300 for tickets. On just one ticket. If they're bringing their family, they're probably paying at least $100 for these tickets. They should be able to chant whatever they want. So don't criticize them for chanting delete or this is boring or whatever they chanted during this. They have every right to do that because they paid their money. You're not paying your money, okay? This is not coming out of your bank account to pay for these tickets. It's coming out of theirs. So if they're not satisfied with something, they should be able to voice their opinion in whatever way they want. As long as it's not bothering the people that paid around them, they should be able to express their opinion however they want. And this segment was terrible. So, they, again, chanting, delete, this is boring, was completely justified because this segment was terrible. Now, when there's, Seth Rollins, even, in Green Bay, and you hear this idiot in the crowd yelling, CM Punk, at Seth Rollins, in a pretty good segment. I remember that segment. It was pretty good, and he chanted CM Punk. That's the stuff I hate. That's the stuff I hate when people just chant just to chant. Like they chant stupid stuff, and this is boring, and delete at just anything. Now, if they're fed up with the product and they don't like the way that the show's going, and they want to send a message to the bookers and yell out CM Punk or delete or this is boring, they should be able to do so. And I thought, and like I said, I thought this segment had a lot of potential. This segment could have been the modern day version of the Mankind and Rock This Is Your Life segment, but it didn't, and it was just awful. It didn't reach that height. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I was very young at the time. I maybe even watched this back on like maybe a Rock documentary or something. I remember the This Is Your Life segment from Mankind and The Rock. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they were a tag team at the time. I believe they weren't feuding at the time. They were a tag team. And they had The Rock's high school sweetheart out there, and they were showing the whole Rock's, everything with The Rock. I thought that was a fantastic segment when I saw it. And I thought this could have reached not really the heights of that, because that's a very high ceiling to reach, but I thought it could have reached somewhere kind of close to it. It could have been the modern day version of it, like I said. And Booker T summed it up perfectly. He really did sum it up perfectly. I laughed really, really hard when Booker T said this. He said, quote, "This is hard to watch." And I agree with him, because it was hard to watch. It was really, really hard to watch. We then see Enzo beat up again. Oh yeah, by the way, that segment's done. I'm not going to talk about it. We're going to go on to the next segment. We then see Enzo beat up again. Cass then blames the Revival. Kurt shows up and says it was not the Revival because they left. Cass then says that it was, and that he wants the Revival. I don't think anybody should want the Revival. They are the baddest tag team on the planet, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a good way. Baddest tag team on the planet. The best tag team on the planet. Also, talking about tag teams, we then have a tag team match, a cruiserweight tag team match. So don't get too excited. Austin Aries and Jack Gallagher versus Neville and TJP. This was, at least to me, a boring match at the Graveyard Shift. Whenever Jack Gallagher was in the ring, I thought it was boring. I'm sorry. It's maybe because I don't watch 205 Live, but I don't really find Jack Gallagher that appealing. I don't understand why he gets so much TV time. Now, don't get me wrong, I watched him in the Cruiserweight Classic, and I thought he was great in the Cruiserweight Classic. But on Raw, I'm just getting bored of him. I don't understand why he's getting so much TV time. I don't. Austin Aries, by the way, continues to shine. Whenever he was in the match, it just felt so much better. Austin Aries makes Neville tap via the last chancery. I had a problem with the ending of this match. Now, look, I am not a big Cruiserweight fan. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of the Cruiserweights. But, look, when somebody's being built up to the way Neville is being built up to the heights that Neville is being built up to, Neville tapping in a pointless tag match is a really, really dumb way to have him lose clean for the first time. Like, how are you going to build this guy up for months since December? And December was like, what, 6 months ago? You're going to build this guy up for months for his first clean loss to be in a pointless tag match. And I understand the angle that they're trying to shoot at, but I still don't like it. Now, this review has gone on for way too long, so I'm going to try and talk about this last match real quick, even though I should spend more time on this last match because it was that good. Roman is interviewed before the match against Seth Rollins, says that nobody on this earth owns him and that he will show why he is the big dog on Sunday. Yeah, totally. Even though I'm not a huge Reigns fan, I have to admit that Roman has intensity that very few men can match. I'm going to give him that. When he's in the ring and he's showing his intensity, I look at it and I say, yeah, very few men can match that. He may be the most intense man in the WWE. In terms of, like, showing intensity, I really can't name anybody, maybe besides Brock Lesnar or Samoa Joe, that can really reach that level of intensity that Roman Reigns can reach. And like I said, he has a lot of potential. He's just not where he needs to be at the moment. I'm not saying he's not going to reach the heights that the WWE believes that he can reach, or even I believe he can reach. But at the moment, he hasn't reached those yet. So I'm going to talk about Seth Rollins in a little bit. Neville was asked about tapping out, and then he storms out of the interview. And I guess it's going to be a storyline going into the match on Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. Gosh, I'm getting so confused. I'm watching boxing all the time, and I'm getting confused. I'm looking forward to Saturday and Sunday now. We then have a vignette showed for Goldust. Says that we all go a little mad at times. Says that it takes a lot to get to the breaking point. Says that he's been there and now he is back in the director's chair. Says that R-Truth knows the truth, that Goldust was too big of a star to be in a supporting role. Says that his movie will reach its crescendo. Says the ending won't be sad or happy. Says the golden age is back. R-Truth airs a reply video to that saying that movies were escape from the real life back in his neighborhood. Says that he will shut Goldust's mouth up. Says you are going to get got. And I guess that's something from, I believe, Marshawn Lynch. So I guess he's trying to incorporate himself as, yeah, I'm hip. Whatever. But I have to say, this was a fantastic video package from both men, more so from Goldust because he's been in that type of character before. He's aired these type of promos before. And, you know, I'm really, really excited to see what they do with Goldust because this is bringing me back to my childhood. There's so many vibes from my childhood. When I used to be afraid of people like Goldust, now I see where he's coming from. It's interesting to see how times change like that. Because as a child, I didn't understand anything this guy was saying, and I found him to be scary, and I found him to be a douchebag. And now I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a pessimist, but I see kind of where he's coming from. I see like, okay, you know, I don't really relate to you, but I can really see where you're coming from. So I'm going to finish with that segment because I'm trying to rush this review out. Well, not really rush the review. I'm trying to get this done in under 50 minutes. Sasha Banks is promoted for 205 Live. I've been saying this, that this is one of the best ways to build the audience for 205 Live is to have the bigger stars on the show, even if it's a one-off appearance. Like maybe like Chris Jericho's a cruiserweight. If you put Chris Jericho's return on 205 Live, it'll do so much for that brand. And I'm not saying that Chris Jericho should be on 205 Live. I'm saying that maybe make his return match for 205 Live so you could get eyes on the product. Because that's what you need right now. I heard that Halloween Havoc in 1998 got more people watching that on the WWE Network this week than 205 Live. That shows you the sad state of 205 Live. We then go on to Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns, the main event of the evening. I must say, this could be a Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels level feud if they choose to turn Roman heel. These two work so well with each other. They really do. And I noticed that they had Roman work as the heel in the match, even though in WWE's eyes, he's not a heel, even though he's the biggest heel in the company. And I don't see why WWE doesn't capitalize on that, because everybody hates the man. Well, not everybody, but you know what I mean. Look, this was the best match that these two have had, and I'm not sure why they gave Seth all this momentum just to feed him to Roman. I really don't, and I know this is what WWE usually does, but even then, you gave this man a clean pin over Triple H. You then had him go on a Payback to beat Samoa Joe, even though it wasn't in the fashion that we all expect from Seth Rollins. It was a roll-up pin, and Seth Rollins won. It wasn't a bold statement like he won against Triple H. And I just don't understand why they gave him all this momentum just to have him fed to Roman Reigns. And this is something I just really don't understand. I really don't understand it from this perspective. I mean, when was the last time Seth Rollins was pinned? I mean, when was the last time Seth Rollins was pinned? I mean, he got injured around Royal Rumble time. So right after the Royal Rumble. And I believe he was pinned against Sami Zayn, but it wasn't in a clean fashion. He didn't get pinned clean. So when was the last time he got pinned clean? I believe it must have been Hell in a Cell, or no, was it Hell in a Cell? Man, it's been a while since Seth Rollins has been pinned clean. Maybe the blow off match against. No, he wasn't even pinned clean then. He hasn't been pinned clean, I believe, since SummerSlam against Finn Balor. So he hasn't been pinned clean since SummerSlam against Finn Balor, and he has all this momentum. He hasn't been clean, and he hasn't been pinned clean in about 9 months now, and then he goes up against Roman Reigns on a Raw that people years from now are gonna forget, and he gets pinned clean. What is that? I mean, come on. The booking decisions of this company are just mind-boggling, man. They're just so mind-boggling. But that was the end of a middle-of-the-road Raw. If you like this, please do hit that subscribe button and leave a like. And also leave me a review on iTunes. That would be very, very appreciated. So, with that being said, I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. I hope everybody had a good Memorial Day weekend, by the way. On a more serious note, I am very proud of the men that sacrificed their lives for us to be here right now. If you're listening to this in America, I am very proud of the men that gave their lives, and even the men that are in the military right now. If you didn't watch my podcast on Friday, you missed what I said about Goldberg, where he said that there aren't heroes in this world anymore, and that he wants to make himself that hero again. And what I said basically was that, for the most part, he's right in terms of people that we all look up to. We all look up to people like Conor McGregor, even though I don't. People look up to Conor McGregor, and people look up to LeVar Ball, and those are people's heroes nowadays, and then that's just not the right image for a hero. I said that my heroes are everybody that puts on that uniform every single day and then fights for us overseas. So, with that being said, we ended on a dark note there. I don't know why. Have a nice day or night or morning, whenever you're watching this. I got to think of a better closing to a show. I got to think of a clever closing to a show. So, I'm going to use that as a filler for the moment, but I'm going to think of something clever. Have a good one, guys.